Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. This is Thomas Wee from Newfin Data speaking. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. Before we start, a couple of things to note. You will notice on the right-hand panel of the webinar screen, there's a questions and comments section, and you can enter any questions in the chat box directly. I look forward to your comments and questions. Let me introduce the agenda we have for today. I'll cover three basic areas. I'm going to take you through briefly how you can maximize the use of payables to boost working capital. Then I'll talk about some strategies to achieve this growth in cash flow. And finally, I'll touch on how our technology is enabling these strategies to happen today. So I'll start with a quick introduction of myself. I'm Thomas Wee. I run Newfin Data and we cover Southeast Asia from our headquarters in Singapore. For China, our base is in Shanghai and Hong Kong. We specialize in the automation and financing of the supply chain, combining trade documents with financing workflows. To talk about boosting working capital, let's talk about basics. Working capital is defined as a company's current assets minus its current liabilities. And what affects working capital is the company's days sales outstanding as DSO, days inventory outstanding as DIO, or days payable outstanding DPO. In a report on working capital by PwC, the larger the company, the more efficient they run their working capital. And it also points out that it's a huge opportunity for mid-sized companies to improve their working capital. Especially in Asia. The report also shows for companies in Asia, there's huge room for CFOs or treasurers to utilize strategies to improve their working capital. Unlocking cash flow in your working capital can be done by improving your cash conversion cycle. It's basically how effective you are in managing your working capital. You can improve your cash conversion cycle by reducing your days sales outstanding, DSO, or days inventory outstanding, DIO. But for this presentation today, we will be focusing on the strategies involving extending your days payable outstanding, or DPO. So let's start what's the big opportunity in payables about. What we have learned from our experience is that account payable automation is a basic initiative that improves process and workflow efficiency. This reduces manual paperwork and costs, but the true value of processing a payable faster is that it allows you to impact the way you manage your working capital. That's why the big opportunity with payable automation is not just the efficiency gains, but the power to reduce cycle time. First, you stretch your payment terms, and this increases the need for cash by suppliers. Then, because you process your payables faster, you'll be able to offer your suppliers early payment in exchange for some form of discount. This can be done either through a early payment program or a reverse factoring program that taps on external funders. This extending of payment terms and reducing of payment approval time works together to drive the take-up rate of early payment by suppliers. Just for a sense of the opportunity, in Asia alone, there's an almost $700 billion trade gap. That's the need by SMEs for trade financing. It's a big opportunity. And for enterprises, the potential returns from early payment discounts is equally rewarding. Here's a simple illustration comparing returns from putting funds in a fixed deposit to using it to capture early payment discounts from a supplier. With fixed deposit rates still generally low, the potential returns from early payment discounts can be astonishingly high. Now let's take a look at the slide that we have put up for you. If the enterprise annual spend is 500 million, let's assume that 10% of the suppliers have chosen to take up the early payment discount. That puts it at 50 million. With discount terms of 2, 10, and net 60, and the discount earned per cycle will be 1 million. And assuming that we can do 6 cycles per year, your return will be 12% per annum. That's an annual earnings of $6 million. Now, looking on the right side of the slide, it's a fixed deposit yield. If you had deposited that $50 million into a fixed deposit with a interest rate of 2% per annum, that's an annual earnings of 1 million. So that's the opportunity that we are really talking about here. The pay side in the procure to pay process. That's why I'm here to share some proven strategies to unlock the cash flow from your payables. There are 4 proven strategies I'm going to share that we have found in practice can help boost cash flow for a company. AP automation, terms transformation of your supplier, leveraging on your credit worthiness with a third-party financial institution, buyer-initiated P card or credit card. The first is automating your payable process. And this is a core automation of your workflow. From raising a purchase order, the matching and validation of your PO, GR invoice, and then finally clearing your internal approval process. This is the key part to increasing the window to enable and capture the early payment discounts on top of that opportunity. Automation tools generally provide tools to help you firstly do e-invoicing, moving you and your suppliers from paper to paperless, because digitizing the data immediately improves processing and document transfer speed. Automation also involves taking care of the tedious, time-consuming hassle of 2 or 3-year matching of your PO, GR, and invoice. And thirdly, automation facilitates the improvement of the workflow approval process, giving you more control and transparency over your AP process. These 3 things adds up to reduce the cycle time, improve the window for capturing early payment discounts. That's why payable automation is always a fundamental component when you talk about unlocking the cash flow in working capital. The second point is that oftentimes, together with automation, enterprise takes the chance to standardize or extend terms with suppliers during onboarding for electronic invoicing. This is a systematic approach in which you go out to your suppliers, segmentize and target some suppliers to standardize or extend terms. You start by devising an attractive set of early payment discount terms, and on an opt-in basis, invite them to be part of an early payment program. This gives suppliers the option to get paid early in return for a small discount. This is all documented with the onboarding process of the e-invoicing portal. So it creates a process whereby you provide your suppliers with a compelling reason and a number of key benefits to come on board. So the supplier now has the use of an easy-to-use portal to submit and manage their invoices while having the powerful option of receiving payments early to boost their cash flow. In exchange, you're actually extending your payment terms and freeing up your own cash flow and working capital. Giving you a quick sense of what's going on into a supplier onboarding or terms transformation process. It starts with an analytical segmentizing of your suppliers by working with your procurement team. This could be by spend size, payment history, or other strategic factors. The steps here include benchmark supplier terms, identifying optimization opportunities, prioritize suppliers for program onboarding, customize your message based on your supplier targets, arm your sourcing team with the right tools, training, and support, and measure for continuous performance improvement. The idea here is to understand your payment cycle well enough to optimize early payment discount offered, and then you can start gradually rolling out programs to your different tiers of suppliers, and by the end, achieving your goal of pushing out payment terms. By doing this, it also provides internal training and best practices for your procurement and shifts the responsibility for supplier management to the suppliers themselves via the self-service invoice portals. The key is to present a compelling benefit to your suppliers to get them to take advantage of the early payment offered. A typical supplier onboarding process can take anywhere from 90 to 120 days. The third strategy for boosting cash flow in your working capital is to leverage on external funding in a supply chain or reverse factoring program. This allows an enterprise to stretch their payment terms without tapping on their own funds. Supply chain finance has been around for a number of years now, and by allowing for small suppliers to leverage on the buyer's higher credit standing, it helps the entire supply chain benefit. With buyer approval, this limits risk and helps suppliers obtain lower cost of financing. This enables suppliers to get paid early on their buyer-approved invoices. In this diagram, we see how it works. The buyer and funder enters into a supply chain financing agreement. As a buyer, you will then approach your supplier to extend payment terms while offering early payment discount. As before, they simply give up the discount in return for the funder paying them early. And for the buyer, they pay only on the now extended payment due date, thus successfully extend or stretching their DPO. Given the nature of the global economy as credit gets tighter, this form of supply chain financing will become increasingly attractive to SME suppliers. Last but not least, the fourth strategy is the use of buyer-initiated P-cards or corporate credit cards. Simply put, this allows you to make payment via these cards to suppliers first before while paying on the card's due date. This entails you being able to enjoy a 30 to 55 days extended credit payment term, and you can even earn rebates on the amount charged to a card. These are the four strategies that you can use your payables to alleviate your working capital and unlock cash flow. AP automation, terms transformation with supplier, leveraging on your creditworthiness with a third-party financial institution, buyer-initiated purchase card or credit card. With that, I would just like to touch on how you can leverage on technology to access some of these working capital strategies. Working capital optimization is a combination of services and technology. The four areas that we at Newfin Data believe are key areas that technology can help drive working capital optimization are payables automation, access to early payment programs, easy supplier onboarding, and multi-funder supply chain financing. And here at Newfin Data, we have built a cloud platform called Nemo that's actually seamlessly combined payables, process automation with supply chain finance options like early payment discounts and reverse factoring. This enables you to use your payables to free up working capital and keep the entire process simple, swift, and scalable. Let's do a brief walkthrough our 5-step AP automation process that has helped our clients reduce their payroll processing time by over 70%. That means they now have a bigger window to capture early payment discounts. Let's start with the left part, the easy submission and digitalization process, which is step 1. Suppliers can choose to send their invoices via email as an attachment, or fax their invoice into our system, or via a portal for submission. Now, this portal, suppliers, as long as they have a internet connection, they can use the IE Internet Explorer, they can use Chrome, they can use Safari browser or Firefox and submit their invoices easily and quickly. Or as a fourth option, suppliers can choose via SFTP or API connection. After submission, our system will now then take over. On our platform, we have a powerful OCR engine that is able to recognize the data that's on these invoice documents. Now, let's take a step sideways about OCR. The most frequent question we see from customers is, how accurate is your OCR? Now, let's talk about accuracy in OCR. No, even if the OCR promises a 99% accuracy, what that really means that for every 100 characters, there's one error. And if that error happens to be a decimal point, or is a failure to recognize 2 or as a 3, that can be very significant and serious. For us, our system actually recognizes a character, and also our system actually pulls the files from your ERP and does the verification. What does that mean is that if we recognize this particular vendor by name, we also will match it against a vendor record and pull the actual vendor record in, and thereby ensuring the accuracy of the entire address or the product description, minimizing any error that comes from optical character recognition. The next one we highlight is the auto learning process of our platform. A lot of OCR processes depends on templates. That's not what our system does. Our system actually goes after keywords. Example, the system learns what invoices can be INV or a Chinese character for Fapiao. This is how a system learns very quickly where this important information is on the invoice. And the second part is every supplier has a different format for the invoices. Our system is able to pick up and learn, and if it is required, manual intervention can come in and teach the system once exactly where all this key information is resting, whether it's the date is on the top right hand corner or the date is on the top left hand corner. And once the system connects this information to the particular supplier, the subsequent invoices coming in, these information are automatically picked up and matched and verified before it's put available to the operator for further onward processing. That's the power of our system. A very powerful OCR system, a very powerful matching and verification automation, and on top of that, easy teaching by operator, not IT people. Now we move on to step 3, auto 3-way matching. That's the matching of your purchase order with your invoice, with your delivery notes. In real life, no one single invoice matches 100% to a PO. Of course, that's possible if it's a flip, But in real life, that's not, most of it is not that it's not that way. And our system tracks down to individual details like product number, product code, quantity, prices. With that level of detail, that allows the system to track automatically the progress of every PO down to line items. Now that is critical because today these processes, these matching are done manually, and these are very tedious and very boring work which finance staff have to undertake. Our system can help, and that's where we can really save time and keep and really raise your staff morale on that. Okay, now on the fourth step is auto routing for approval. This is particularly important where not all your staff can be maybe in the same physical location, or maybe the staff is out or what. Through our solution, and this really actually shows the power of our cloud platform, where staff need not be in the same physical location, but information can move very quickly and be on the table. Time is clocked when it arrives on your desktop, so that information, these approvals can quickly be done and also quickly be tracked. So there's a very clear overview where the approval process has gone, whether there has been any delays or any queries. These are very clear exactly. Perhaps it has stopped on the manager's table, or it stopped in some particular finance person's table. Where in the past, if it's a physical document moving around, it can get lost, or it can be left underneath a pile of paper and it gets forgotten. With an electronic cloud-based platform, that is a thing of the past. It's very clear. Everyone in the whole process has a very clear view of where, when, and what's happening. That's the power of our platform. Now, of course, the fifth part is actually, I've already talked a little bit about it. The management itself now can have a very clear overview of what's going on, the productivity, and delays in any way. And we have lots of visual bar charts and pie charts to help management see what's going on visually as well. And also automatic triggering of important key reports that will end up in your email box automatically. So here we have actually built in there's a lot of thought that has been put into our process, so that the entire team gets more productive and more efficient and clearer. Of course, AP automation will also drive savings from efficiency gains, as I mentioned earlier. Here we have a quick example of how much you will stand to save if you use technology to process your payables. Let's take an example of 60,000 invoices per year. According to a 2016 study, an average cost to process an invoice is $12.90. And from automation, savings that can be gained is close to 29%. And that can mean a savings of $3.70 per document. And that in total can mean a $222,000 savings per year through automation. Lastly, I would like to bring across the point of why use a platform or technology to run supply chain finance. Why not go with a bank? There are many reasons, and it harks back to the strategies I've covered. Automation of your internal processes improve day-to-day operation efficiency and speeds up payable processing. It improves management visibility and decision making. With automation, this maximizes the window to capture the early payment discount. And with a platform that can scale up the program and reach all your suppliers with just a simple browser, it's easier and faster to onboard your suppliers, whether they're local or overseas. And there's always a liquidity risk when you run your supply chain finance program with a single bank. That's why a multi-funder platform will ensure your suppliers and your supply chain stay healthy. So with that, we'll go ahead and look at some questions.
I think I'll take the first question first. My company works with a number of banks. When you say multi-funder, would your platform be able to work with some of my preferred banks? Okay. Now, yes, we are funder neutral. We do not dictate the bank that you work with. What we provide is just a platform to exchange data between all parties. That means the enterprise that is contracting with us and the funders on the other end. So we can work together with any bank, provide financing by exchanging data, either through a host-to-host connection or even a simple funder portal so that they can be up in no time. And we will want to continue to be being funder neutral so that the rates provided can be competitive and the financing will continue to be stable towards the enterprises that are on the platform. Okay, now question 2. How do you ensure suppliers sign up for your supply chain finance or early payment program? It's really about understanding, segmentizing, and providing the right reasons to come on board to the right suppliers. I think I've covered something like this, but you don't necessarily have to reach all the suppliers at one go at the very start. Work with your procurement to understand their spend, their payment cycle history to classify suppliers and identify and classify each type of suppliers because different suppliers have different propensity with discount given. For example, services suppliers or providers of services might have larger margins, so they are willing to take a bigger discount. While raw material suppliers may have a smaller margin, so they can only give up a smaller discount. Knowing and targeting the right suppliers first by making the optimum offer for them would ensure a more effective take-up rate when onboarding them for a supply chain finance program. Okay, third question. I'm already using SAP to do my POs and three-way matching. Can I still use your platform to run a supplier finance program? Well, the answer is of course. Nemo, our supply chain financing platform, uh, is a platform that connects enterprises with funders. So if you're already on an automation platform, we can connect with that platform to pull the purchase order and send it to the supplier's invoicing portal, and then the supplier can use the same portal to submit invoices, which can then be sent back to your ERP for validation. In other words, we extend your ERP to connect through your whole company and connect to the external ecosystems, of which is your suppliers and your buyers. For suppliers, once this invoice is approved, they can see it on their own portal and they can ask for early payment through that supplier portal. So yes, you can absolutely still use Nemo to connect your suppliers and run a supply chain finance program if you already have your own ERP like SAP, JD Edwards, and so our solution, Nemo, can connect to these ERPs and extend the power of it to your suppliers. Okay, I have a final question. I think that's the fourth question, the final question here. Can you share on what you think will be the next leap in the field of supply chain finance? Okay, that's a good question. There's a lot of talk about blockchain in supply chain finance. And at Newfin Data, we are also working on this. It's really about how we apply blockchain to supply chain finance to build up that trust that's required in the entire flow. Simply said, a blockchain-based supply chain finance solution, or more specifically, so they are very suitable for so-called smart contracts that will essentially enable all parties in a supply chain finance solution to act on a single shared ledger. a supplier and buyer, along with every other participant like a funder and all, can solely update their parts of the transaction, enabling efficiency and unprecedented level of trust and transparency on a ledger record that's immutable. Now, in short, in essence, that is actually connecting a physical transaction with a financial transaction if there's any financing involved. So all this triggering can be whether the goods are being shipped and leaving a port, any custom clearance. All these are milestones and checkpoints that are actually physical activity that can also trigger the financial activity, which is partial payment or triggering of certain parts of the payment as part of the smart contracts. Now, this will actually speed up the entire payment financing process because the funder will now be able to see the original orders, the progress, and have the full visibility across the entire supply chain. And in short, because trust is increased, everything moves along a lot smoother and better. And that's it. Hope I've taken on all the questions. I don't see any more questions coming up. Okay, looks like that's it for today. And for those who are on it, thank you very much, and look forward to speak to you again when on our next webinar.